I'm Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today, and this is Capital Download. We're in McLean, Virginia at the home of Lynne Cheney, author of a new book, James Madison, A Life Reconsidered. Thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thanks for being here.
We were last in your home to interview the former vice president about his memoirs, and we're back to talk about your new book. And I think people might have expected you to write a memoir of your time in Washington, of your tenure as a co-host of CNN Crossfire, as a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, as second lady. You've written a historical book about a founding father. Why did you do that?
I'd been thinking about this book since 1987. So finally, let's see, can I do the math? All these years later, a quarter century and more, I finally got around to writing a book that has about a man who has fascinated me since then. I think he's been underrated by historians, and I'm not the only one. John Kennedy said that he was our most underrated president. And the amazing achievements of his life were just a fascinating story to research and tell.
One of the interesting things about your book is you write about his health.
Yes.
And you conclude that he in fact suffered from epilepsy. Is this a new conclusion? Is this different from what we thought we knew about him?
Well, there are only a few references to it, and one of them that Madison wrote himself has never been published, and it wasn't even in public domain until 1953. So people have not talked about it, or when they've talked about it, they've misunderstood it. One of his biographers suggested that he was an hysteric, which hasn't helped his reputation either. But he wasn't, I think, and I consulted with some people who know a lot more about epilepsy than I do, and worked through the evidence with them. And it does seem to me clear that he suffered from what are called complex partial seizures. They were less and less often occurring as he got older. But it was something he had to deal with, and he dealt with it quite well. He was not only the father of the Constitution and the architect of the Bill of Rights and Secretary of State, our first president took the country to war under the Constitution. He also founded the first political party. He was, a very dynamic and energetic person when he wasn't sidelined by the seizures, or as he called them, sudden attacks.
Father of the Constitution, architect of the Bill of Rights. Mm-hmm. If Madison could see what goes on today, you think of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, it's revered by journalists for the First Amendment, by
yes.
gun control owners for the Second Amendment, by Tea Party conservatives for the constitutional principles. Would he be surprised that there continues to be so much power from the Constitution and so much debate about what it really means?
I think that would please him. But the fact that the document is at the center of our national conversation still. But I think he would be a little disturbed by the notion of a living Constitution. Those people back then didn't really understand the social situation today, and so, we'll come up with new rights that aren't in the Constitution. I think that would trouble him.
He cared a lot about Congress, helped establish Congress, mm-hmm. was a brilliant legislative tactician, as you write. What would you think about the way Congress works now?
Well, that's interesting because, we all say, oh my gosh, this partisan gridlock, we have to get over that. Madison founded partisan gridlock in a sense. The Washington administration was underway. Alexander Hamilton was really in charge of policy, and he was taking it beyond the Constitution, Madison thought. And there was no way to combat this, he finally concluded, Madison did, without setting up an opposition party. And that was a very unusual thing to do. Parties had not such a good reputation then, just as they don't now. But it was the way to have a legitimate opposition and to combat the idea that the Constitution could mean whatever Alexander Hamilton wanted it to mean. It ushered in, the founding of this party ushered in an era of partisan politics that's easily as combative, cruel, mean, and nasty as today. There was the politics of personal destruction. Dolly Madison was attacked. It was easily as nasty as now.
Your husband, the former vice president, came in and said hello to us before the interview. We were glad to see him. He's gotten a new heart and has a new lease on life. Would he like to play any role in Republican politics in, say, the 2016 nomination race?
Well, he's right now playing a role in 2014, helping the Republican National Committee raise money and, advising people behind the scenes. I'm sure in 2016 he would be happy to provide advice and guidance, and I kind of suspect he might speak out too. He does think that national security is a very important issue going forward, and that some of the things that have happened over the last 6.5 years in reducing the size of the military, in taking missile defense out of Poland, some of the things that have happened have made us weaker, and he is interested in a strong military and a strong national defense.
So last question, your daughter Liz had been seeking the Republican Senate nomination in Wyoming. Do you think that she will run for office again?
I sure hope so. I mean, she is a great candidate, and the family was going through some crises. It's now evened out. She did exactly the right thing to turn her attention to some difficult situations. And she'll do exactly the right thing, in my opinion, if she runs for office again. She'd be a terrific candidate and a terrific representative or senator for us.
And would she run from Wyoming or from Virginia if she were running?
Well, she's in Wyoming, so that's where the kids are riding horses and skiing and going to proms.
Thanks for joining us on Capitol Download.
Thank you, Susan. It's nice to see you. Nice to be with you.